Hey everybody, and good Wednesday evening to you. It's Eric here with another edition of Weather for Weather Geeks, the final edition of the month of July. August 1st is tomorrow, believe it or not, and the weather is about to settle down after a couple of pretty unsettled days over the last couple of days. All right, one of the big weather stories locally today, aside from some fairly feisty thunderstorms, we did have, over in Stark County especially, we had some funnels that were seen. This particular funnel is from the Louisville area in Stark County along 62. Just to the east of Canton. And more than likely, this is what we call a land spout. Well, what's a land spout? It's kind of a cousin of a water spout, except, of course, it's over the land. You know, there's different types of funnels. There's the traditional funnel that can produce a legit tornado. There's water spouts and land spouts, and then there's cold air funnels, which oftentimes occur in the fall when you have real chilly air aloft. Sometimes you'll see funnel clouds that very rarely make it to the surface. This kind of land spout or water spout idea, you know, this kind of occurs when you don't have circulation in the parent cloud. In other words, there's not a mesocyclone producing this. There's no rotation in the clouds themselves. And, you know, atmospheric conditions today were not conducive at all to legit tornadoes. But we had just the right combination of things that this different type of a funnel was able to form, and we had that threat throughout the area today that someone could see a funnel cloud. These almost never touch the ground, and even if they do, it's very briefly usually, and usually wind speeds are not enough to cause any sort of substantial damage. But I posted this on social media mid-afternoon and got a lot of people's attention with that, thankfully in our area. I have not seen any reports of any damage from any thunderstorm activity we had earlier on today. We'll recap the day's thunderstorms momentarily, but since today is the last day of July. Oh, before I get to this, though, I did want to show you one more picture. This is from our camera in Boardman of the shelf cloud. Shelf clouds, if you're a little unfamiliar with that, it's a lot of times forms on the leading edge of a thunderstorm as rain-cooled air rushes out of the storm. It lifts some of the warm, humid air that's out ahead of the storm, and you get kind of a low-hanging cloud. Shelf clouds are harmless, but they oftentimes precede a pretty good thunderstorm. All right, did want to show you that. Now let's get to the July recap. This is a look at the total rainfall for the month of July. A couple of hot spots here, of course, Kinsman to Greenville. It was about 10 days or so ago. We've had quite a bit of rain in the last few days, south of 224 in Mahoning County, North Lima, New Middletown area. Some of the driest areas in the month of July around Lisbon and points south, down towards East Liverpool, Salineville, Summitville. Also, parts of the central kind of third of Trumbull County have not been especially wet in the month of July, but there have been other places that have been quite a bit wetter. I live in Boardman. I've had over 6 inches worth of rain. Canfield, Boardman area, 6 inches of rain, pretty common, but at the airport, we clocked in under 5. I'll show you those airport numbers momentarily. Now, July started out much like June was, very, very wet, but the last couple of weeks, with some exceptions, have not been as consistently wet. Here's a look at the rainfall compared to average over the last 2 weeks. Pretty dry down here in Columbiana County. Pretty average in central Trumbull and down towards downtown Youngstown. Very wet, obviously, up here, and pretty wet along the 224 corridor and points south over the last couple of weeks. You know, this is pretty typical of the summer season. As I often say, your mileage can vary just depending on what thunderstorms decide to do in the convective season. Now, at the airport, only 4.16. That's you know, about 0.15 below average. Overall, pretty close to average, but below average, that's significant because this is the first time at the airport we've had a drier than average month since last August. Last year we had July and August that were both drier than average. We've been above average every month since. Finally, we registered a drier than average month at the airport. So again, notice since like the 18th, you know, with the exception of a pretty wet Saturday on the 20th, you know, rainfall totals been, you know, pretty paltry where we keep the official records at the airport. And at the airport, as far as the temperatures go, these are the highs, and of course, only a handful of cooler than average days, and they weren't cooler than average by much. Our 3 straight 77s last week. Those were the coolest highs for the entire month. Our hottest weather was during the first week of the month, right around the 4th of July holiday. We had upper 80s, lower 90s pretty consistently in there. And then another stretch from the 18th through the 21st, all around 90 degrees. 4 degrees right on the nose above average, making it the 15th hottest July on record. Earlier this month, we were in the top 10, but of course, over the last week or so, it hasn't been quite as hot. So we've dropped in the rankings to 15th, and a little bit behind July of 2011 and July of 2012 on the list of hottest Julys on record. All right, let's look forward to August. What we have to look forward to, I think, during the first half of the month especially, is a lack of heat. And what I mean by that is mostly 90s. Heat, it's supposed to be warm in August. It's our second hottest month of the year, climatologically speaking. But compared to the average, I don't see a lot of high heat coming our way in the first half of the month. Cooler than average weather most likely out across the Plains states in the entire month, and we should be right around average when it all comes out in the wash. Now, that being said, I think August could be kind of almost split in half. The first half of the month, pretty comfortable by August standards. I think the heat's going to try to build again towards the end of the month and into early September. So best chance of 90s in August, probably late in the month. Precipitation-wise, middle of the country, highest odds of wetter than average conditions will be out there. We have some decent odds of it being another drier than average month around here. Now, of course, some of us were not drier than average in July, but officially at the airport we were. It does not look very wet at all in the month of August. Of course, it's going to rain from time to time, but compared to the average, should not be anything crazy. All right, today we had some showers and thunderstorms. It was another pretty active afternoon. These brought some localized downpours to some places. We even had a severe thunderstorm warning for a time in the northeastern part of Columbiana, southwestern parts of Lawrence as well. Some small hail, some gusty winds, and some legit downpours out there as well this afternoon. Radar estimates over the last 12 hours. Once again, it was southeastern Mahoney County that got hit the hardest. This is on the heels of yesterday's downpours we had in North Lima, New Middletown. Today the bullseye was a little bit farther to the south and east, closer to the intersection of Mahoning, Columbiana, and Lawrence counties, just south of New Middletown. We also had some decent amounts over the last 12 hours back towards Beaver and up into the Canfield area, especially in areas south of 224. Boardman got away pretty scot-free. This just missed to the south of the heart of Boardman. Now, as you head down towards Western Reserve Road and kind of the southern reaches of Boardman, yes, we had some rain. But right around the busy shopping area along 224 in Boardman, we actually had a near miss today with that nice shelf cloud, but the storm primarily missed us to the south. All right, dew points. I walked outside after the 6 o'clock news this evening. It felt pretty nice outside. Dew points are starting to lower gradually through the 60s, and as these dew points in the upper 50s finally start filtering in, I think it's going to be a pleasant night. We'll see temperatures drop down into the upper 50s overnight tonight. All right, as we've been advertising, smooth sailing for the next couple of days, not buying any green that the model's trying to print out here on Thursday. Just think there'll be some fair weather cumulus clouds that bubble up. Same idea coming up on Friday. Might see a couple of green blobs here, but this will be primarily concentrated, I think, across the Appalachian Mountains, from Johnstown and Altoona down into the Blue Ridge Parkway, eastern West Virginia, western Virginia. This far to the west, probably just some cumulus clouds. Maybe Pittsburgh gets a shower on Friday. But around here, I think we're dry. I think we're dry into the first half of the weekend. And I do allow for a spotty shower or thunderstorm, a slim chance of one coming up on Sunday. So if you're heading to the Columbiana County Fair on Thursday, it'll be a nice day at the fair. Lower 80s will be dry, and humidity pretty much a non-story across the area on Thursday. All right, that's it for tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. Tomorrow evening, we'll talk a little bit about August and some of the climate stats for the month. We'll talk about the shorter days during the month of August as well. We'll get into some of that. Since the weather will be quiet over the next few days, we'll geek out to some August statistics now that we've done the official August forecast. All right, I'll see you back here tomorrow evening.